Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Build Well podcast with Sean and Courtney Garner. We're so excited to talk to you today about marriage. This could get heated. It's already been heated in discussions today, but we're so excited to jump in, and we want to help you as a business owner with all things marriage, relational health. So let's dive in. Diving in today, we are going to talk about marriage, and we have been on a journey. We're at 21 years of marriage.
Whoop, whoop.
And probably like 15 of those, one or both of us have been an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
And so there is some pitfalls, there is some challenges, there's some nuances, and there's also some blessings that come with that life. I know so many people that have told me they're watching this. One of them are an entrepreneur, and the other one may have another job or be a stay-at-home parent, and or whatever the case may be. And so sometimes even that separation in what each of us do and the home role in the business world, et cetera, can bring some unique challenges. So I wanted to start off and just ask you, and we can dialogue back and forth about this, but what are some pitfalls that we have faced in business as it pertains to our marriage so that we can help people avoid those same mistakes?
Yeah. I think each one of the different seasons is different problems. They're not good or better problems, but there's three groups of people. There's one where there's a regular W-2 or even stay at home, and the entrepreneur. There's the one where there is both entrepreneurs and they're working on the same business. And then there's and we're the last two. And then there's also, they're both entrepreneurs and two different businesses. We have two different businesses, and then we also have businesses that we work on together. And in my mind, I always thought that it would, like, sometimes it would be easier because each one of those stages, you have different levels of like problems and frustration. So whenever, one person is the entrepreneur and the other person is working a traditional job or stay at home, it's really difficult sometimes to articulate things if they don't have that mindset. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I don't understand why we're doing this, or why things are happening. When you have both of you working on the same business, and if you're two very strong people, that can cause conflicts on opinion of how it should be done in the process and everything else like that. And also a problem with that one can be that your whole relationship becomes just the business. Sure. And so you don't have anything else because that is like almost like another child for you. And then the other option is you both almost kind of are so off doing your own thing and it's siloed. It can seem like you're more separate than anything because owning a business is really difficult. And so having those two different things.
The hours are different depending upon what it is or what
So
let's break it down. Let's go to the season where you were an entrepreneur, I was a W-2. What were some pain points that maybe made our marriage rocky? Because we almost, not to get into all the details necessarily, but we almost lost our marriage. Mm-hmm. So where was the pitfall, and did it pertain to the business? How did it pertain to the business?
Yeah. I don't think that necessarily did directly. It was almost indirectly of just making some poor business decisions that we didn't agree with. So
okay.
one of them was just, I'm bringing in some partners to help us with one of our business. And then
I said not to do it.
Yeah. And this is a question that I have for you on that, is because I want your opinion, because I obviously got mine. Not when do you listen to this spouse, but like sometimes there is things that's just like, oh, well, they don't understand that. So they are speaking into things that they might not fully understand. Like I think a perfect example that everybody can relate to is if you are an entrepreneur, a lot of times it's about finances. And so like, why can't you just have a consistent paycheck? Like if it's a brand new business and stuff like that, and not understanding that it's like, well, I am the paycheck.
I think as a wife, like we understand there's going to be a transition period. Sometimes what's hard is like, you don't know how long that transition period is going to be. So the problem comes of like not believing in the business or not trusting you or not wanting it to be successful and give you space to do that. But am I becoming the primary breadwinner? And what happens when we're 6 months in, or whatever the timeline is that we thought on paper we would be at X, Y, and Z goal where you could take, this amount of money from the business or whatever. What happens when we don't reach it?
Yeah.
Right? Do we And how are we doing that? Because as a female, we want security. And one of the ways that we receive security is the fact that you'll fight, protect, and make sure that me and the kids are provided for.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it comes down to feeling wishy-washy about that. Like, and that's it needs to be agreed upon before we started the business. And then a contingency plan almost of like, if by this point we haven't reached this, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Or, which was the whole idea of what we were talking about in the episode that went viral as far as like the Sabbath. The whole context of that came from, hey, maybe start your business as a 6-day business and ease into it so that you can keep your 9 to 5 or work part-time at least as you're trying to ramp up your business, especially when there's a wife and kids or spouse and kids or whatever in the.
So going into more of the problems, I think one of the big problems was not being in agreement on, because whenever you're on partners and other people that are allowing to come into the business, because whenever you are partnering up, bringing outside investors, outside money and stuff like that in, like they in essence are becoming part of the
You're
core
marrying
group.
them.
Yeah.
You're creating a covenant. And I think the biggest red flag I had, there was just something in my spirit that was like, I don't feel good about this.
Yeah.
What is their plan to actually help us besides just dip in cash?
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 of them out of 3, it was a group of 3, I think, 1 or 2 of them were not believers.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big on we're not unequally yoked spiritually, because when push comes to shove, people make mistakes, this and that happens. Are we going to fight by the same set of rules that are in this book?
Correct. Yeah.
And do we have character to fight by those rules? And if you are a believer, the staff that you hire in different things probably looks different than if you are not, and that's not your mindset. And so for me, that was my big red flag, is like, hey, we're not on the same page spiritually as all of these people. So are we really ready to, sounds bad, get in bed with them, right? Like, are we really ready to create a marriage-ish relationship by having partners? And what does it look like if we need to exit that situation? And it was a disaster, to say the least. It almost bankrupted us. We paid that off over time. We were indebted to them because of the way we had to get out. And there was a lot of variables in that, but it did not end well. And so if people are listening to this, that's probably one of the biggest things I could say to the people, especially if you're in any business, but especially the people that are coming into a situation where one person's a W-2 or a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, and one person's the main business manager or owner. You're a married couple, so like the business is your baby. It really is. It really is a family decision. But whatever decisions you're making from the start through it, any big decision, find a way to find compromise and be on the same page and be on the same team, as we like to say.
So go back a little bit to things that we started talking about earlier and everything, with like the different perspectives and speaking into it and everything. How do you start to make the decisions and everything and bring somebody else in and bring your spouse into some business decisions without almost like worrying them? So like the specific example of, especially with brand new businesses, I think that what you said is right and is true. Business owners need to have like their check-in times of like, hey, at this point, if we're not at this revenue, here's the plan. At this point, if I'm still working this much, here's the plan. And having those different check-in points. Very few businesses work completely perfect and according to plan. So how would you talk to somebody about navigating that without it? It's 6 months, you're not making $1 million yet, like we should throw the thing away. Like, okay, sometimes it just takes a little bit more than you thought. So like,
well, yeah, that's an extreme statement.
Yeah.
What probably happens more often is, like, you thought you could be bringing home $3,000-$4,000 a month, and then you're still not there, or you're barely breaking even, and so now we're draining savings, right? And now the wife is panicking. So how do we get on the same page of that? I think you have to be on the same page to begin with, and you need to have a discussion about it. Hey, we're going to look at our finances with this and make a decision as to what needs to happen. Are we both still committed to this business? Does one of us need to get an extra part-time job? Like, what needs to happen in order to keep our family afloat?
Yeah.
And not put ourselves in a terrible financial situation as we're trying to get this thing off the ground.
How would you speak to a couple that one of them has a lot more confidence than the other? Right? Let's say that there's
Yeah.
a couple to where
Yeah.
maybe they're
Whoever's
not.
starting it's probably real pumped.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Yeah.
no, no, not even that, but just because I've even seen just the opposite, where it's the person that's in the business is tired, they're fatigued, they're burned out, but then their spouse is like, no, 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 like I feel like you're, and they're encouraging them, but they want to quit. And then even the opposite, it's just to where maybe the person that's in the business is like, no, you don't understand the breakthrough. It's like right there, and they are like hopeful and everything, but the other spouse came from maybe like not an entrepreneurial family or doesn't have that vision for things, and so for them, they're like, you should just quit and go get another job.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people?
I think there's so much spiritual clarity that needs to happen in those decisions, and rest, encouragement that needs to.
Food and snacks solves problems.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you're tired and you're hungry, then you're not thinking rationally, and it's harder to be in alignment in a way. I think that's just kind of pull back and find a way to take a weekend or take some days and time to think about it, pray about it, rest, recover, sleep, eat a good meal, and like not make decisions in fatigue or in frustration or in a position where what I feel in the moment and what I spiritually heard when I started this thing are two very different things. So, how do I quicken my heart back to God's promise over this situation? And I've seen people hang up businesses they put a lot of time and effort into because they just reached a point where it was like, God's lifted his hand from this business, and we obviously are in a transition and we need to make a change as a family. So I've seen people have very successful businesses that they've kind of folded or made a decision to finally just sell off, right? Because they were in a position where God was transitioning to them something else, either another physical location where it didn't make sense to try to keep managing at a distance, or hey, we're our family season is not
Yeah.
what it was. So there can be so many variables to that, but I just really think that like pulling back, quickening our heart to what the Lord is saying, God's promises, and then just trying to find some alignment vertically and horizontally with how we're going to step forward.
Okay. So now what about you? What are some like business problems, issues, and stuff that you've experienced that
Well, we had one today.
really you think that was a
It's
problem?
not a problem. I just feel the tension of it. We were talking about it before we got on this show. But I think one challenge that happens is because we both run different companies. It's very easy, especially you in the tech space. It's very easily for you to have another software, another this, or another big idea when I'm grinding day to day, working 50 plus hours a week. And so for me, the idea that you have feels like something that I now have to implement. And it's like this big long to do list. So today was the example of you called me and you're like, hey, I found this software, like it's da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm not looking for another software. Like, can we talk about something else right now? And you're like trying to tell me all about it. And it was fine. I appreciate you for your feedback. You're always looking out for me. I know you have the best intentions. But that can be those little moments can become a source of like, well, I didn't ask you for your opinion about that. Or I wasn't looking for a solution about that. Like, hey, you're my husband. Can you just call me to talk to me about something else for the day or whatever, right? So there's those moments where we have to communicate and step back. And even we find this like on our walks, and you'll be like, you want to go first or do you want me to go first? Because sometimes I need to just walk and be beside you, but not
Yeah.
talk. I don't necessarily need an opinion. Sometimes I tell you things because I need to get it off my chest. Like, dang, today was so heavy. And this situation happened with a staff member or a patient. I'm so frustrated. And, I don't know what to do. And sometimes I just need your encouragement, like, God's got you. And I'm not looking for you to necessarily speak into it. And that probably happens with a lot of couples.
Okay, so yes, because I think that this is the point of this episode too, is talking through these things and like when to allow the spouse to speak in, because then on that specific note there, I've got a question for you,
Okay.
Ms. Garner. When are you able to just look at it also from the perspective of having like the part of the two are better than one type
Yes,
mindset and everything of somebody looking at your blind spot?
I agree. You're valid in that. You're valid in that probably most of the time that you bring up a software question. It probably
Like,
is just
he's,
the time that you
yeah,
discuss it. Hey, I would rather you say, hey, when you've got some time, I found this thing I thought it might be helpful. I want to show it to you. Versus
I
overwhelming me on the phone
I start to
as I'm
realize that,
driving.
yeah, because differences and mindsets and opinions. If I say something, you often think that like, oh, I've already bought it, or
1,000%. You've
we're
been wanting to do flying lessons, and I'm
we're
like, oh my God, he's buying a plane tomorrow.
we're doing it. We're doing the thing now because we just. I think that that's the differences of even just like in business owners. Like we both are successful at what we do, but we
Yeah.
have different approaches to even like our leadership
Yeah.
and
Our
our
management styles are different, our
yeah.
leadership styles are different. So those things are hard, but I think sometimes there's probably just like one little extra statement that could be added to a comment or added to advice that or a discussion that helps. Like in the scenario where it's like I'm telling you something, right? And I think it would be really helpful sometimes if you just said, "Are you looking for me to give you like advise you, or you just need to tell me? Like
Okay.
what is it that you're looking for right now?" Right?
What do you want, girl? Are you just
Because
talking
you'll
or do
come
you want
up
me to
with
fix
these like
this?
big, huge, long solutions. And I know your heart is so good, but then I'm just like, okay, well, you also don't understand everything else that's happening in the business. And I have like more of the COO mindset sometimes. I have to be a visionary because I'm a business owner, but I have history in operations. And so when you say something, I feel like all I'm thinking about is poking holes in the idea and how it would or wouldn't work within the context. And sometimes I'm not looking to solve the problem right then and there. I just need to tell you it was frustrating and I need to figure out a
Do
solution
you
for
think
this.
that's a Courtney Sean thing or is that a woman man thing? Because
That's a good question.
when you start talking, I instantly like go into problem solving. Like, oh, we could do this, we could do this,
Yeah.
and I'm start thinking about all the
It's
solutions to
probably
it.
how God wired you and how God
Yeah,
wired me. And so even though we're in alignment on a lot of things, like we've had to learn to be better at that. And I think
yeah.
we're way better than we used to be. And you're way better because I know that like on the walk sometimes you're like, "Hey, do you want to talk or do you not want to talk? Do you want to tell me about your day first? Do you want me to talk to you about my day first? Like where are you at capacity wise?" Because I've said this before, I'm not an extrovert. So when I've given all
Oh
day
yeah.
long, I just like sometimes need to be in silence. I appreciate that you're next to me. It's not that I don't want to be with you. I just like don't want to have a super detailed conversation every single day
Yeah.
when I get home from work. That's it.
Because that
That's a good question. People that are watching this can comment like, "Are you like that? Or are you not like that?" But every couple has these things, right? And it's like this has happened to us before too. I think we've talked about this where we both filled out and did one of those like personality tests.
exo marriage. We did it.
Yeah, I forgot the name of that test though.
I don't remember,
We got to
but yeah.
find that. But one of the things that I have big on my list is like this idea of both justice and integrity or transparency almost. Like if I feel like I have to rapidly get things done once I'm in motion almost. I don't know how to say that, but we're both wired differently. So it's like, hey, because you're like that, I know that's how God made you. So I want to honor that. But how do we find this like compromise, recognizing that we're both very different people and you think differently than me? And we complement each other in a lot of ways. Like, um, praise God for it. If we were both the same,
It'd be boring and bad.
nothing would
Yeah.
work the way that it works. But those things in every relationship can become a head butting point instead of a unity and working together and like working it out.
So saying that, do you think most I don't know if we're going to use the term couplepreneur, but most couples that have an entrepreneurial, whether they are an entrepreneur or they're running a business together or something, do you think some of the business problems that they have and the pitfalls that they have in business are really business problems, or are they more deeper issues with like communication or a marriage
Yeah,
issue that bled into the business?
right. Could be both. I mean, you could have bad business skills. You can be an awesome human being, but just be bad at marketing or
Yeah.
bad at sales or bad at managing people or, whatever skill that you need to work on. But a lot of the things that I get concerned about for married couples is that they don't find ways to communicate, make time for each other, and be in alignment. And I think that destructs marriages more than anything. We know a lot of people who have had very successful businesses but end up divorced,
Oh yeah, multiple
right?
multiple
And we don't want
marriages,
people,
kids don't.
yeah, we don't want
Yeah.
people to deal with that. We know it happens sometimes, and God always works everything for the good. But if we can help people and encourage people from getting to those places, man, that would be amazing. So you tell me, in terms of communication and how does that impact you with what I said as far as like the challenges with us of like when can I give advice, when can I not? Do you feel that from me, or are you like, no, I welcome the
What do you mean
advice?
by that?
Do you feel the same way I feel, like, hey, I wasn't looking
No,
for advice?
completely opposite. Like, and that's why
Of course.
that's why I don't compute, because for me, I'm always looking like, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Look for blind spots. How can things get better? Like, I don't ever think that things are. I think because of how my mindset works,
Yeah.
I don't ever think anything's right. I
Yeah.
think that it could always be better. I'm always looking for blind spots, and so
Uh-huh.
because of that, if somebody's like, you need to completely redo your entire agency, I'm not going to instantly. From my mindset, I'm not going to shut that down. I'm like, okay, prove it. Tell me why. And I'm going to want to hear that type of stuff. And so I love feedback and like, hey, what can we do better? How can I?
Sometimes I have great ideas.
Yeah, I exactly. That's why, again, because I know that about you. I'm like, well, maybe she'll think this one's good. And so I think that's the point. One of the perks of
Marriage and
marriage and
business.
business and
Sure.
stuff is because not only do you see insights to business, but you know insights to my character. So whenever you start speaking into things, I know that like you're not just looking through it at a business
Okay, but
lens.
do you need my advice or do you need my encouragement?
I need and like are two different things. So I think that as a husband, every husband, the phrase that they want to hear from their wife is, well, couple, but one of them.
Oh, like, be careful with that.
I had to slow down there. Well,
Oh my gosh.
I would say the biggest one, it would just be like, I'm proud of you. I believe in you. And just that encouragement piece. But because you are successful at what you do too, I also want you to speak into the business stuff. Like, hey, have you thought about this? Or what do you think about this? Because we have different industries that we're working in too. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times what works in one industry can carry over to another. So, hey, what's
Right.
something that you're seeing that, process you're putting in place, or how you're managing this, so I can, throw it into mine.
Yeah.
You look like you got something to say.
I'm laughing to myself because I want your advice. You have great advice. It's just the time and the delivery sometimes.
Mm.
But I love you very much. I want it the way I want it. I don't want it the way I don't want it.
That's so simple for the man and husband to
I
follow along
know.
with too.
It's such simple advice. I know, but you've got to learn to read your wife. Read the room, men. Read the room.
So real quick, just so we can take this away, the wife can say it whenever she wants, and then the husband has to learn to read the room. Are we getting that?
No,
Okay.
exactly.
I'm glad I figured it out now.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to love each other through this. Okay. Okay, so one of the things that I think has been complicated for us is that I have technically two medical practices. Yes, we do a little bit of that together, but I'm the main one leading those companies day to day, operationally, medically, etc. And sometimes those hours are long. The clinic is open certain times of the day, whereas, yes, you have phone calls or whatever, meetings,
Whatever you're doing in
whatever
there.
you do all day. I don't even know. But you have calls that you can schedule. It doesn't have to be like necessarily traditional office hours necessarily. You've got ease of like flexibility in a way of blocking your calendar and doing this and doing that. And so a point of contention for us has been like, well, you're at the clinic all day and kids events and different things, and then hours bleeding over because now I'm running two businesses and not just one medical practice and all the things. So talk me through what is helpful when we're in that situation where one person maybe works from home or has more of a flexible schedule and one person does not, and how have I or how can I make you in that situation feel better about our time together, or what my life and impact here at the house looks like when I get home.
So I think there's a couple of things to it. So one is, and this is a frustration we both have.
Yeah.
So when we opened up the IV side, we had in some ways like a much better quality of life before that because it
Yeah,
was
it
all
was like
telemedicine.
telemedicine, so I had more flexibility. It's
Exactly.
like not a big deal.
And I think that that's been a frustration for both of us because
Yeah,
we
it's hard.
opened that business thinking it was going to be a lot less of your time, but then with the way some of the laws and everything have changed and
Yeah, just
everything,
staffing too.
it has required more of your time. So I think that that's kind of, and this is something that we talk about
I think some of it for me
now is
is,
our check-in points of like,
yeah,
okay, like what are we going to do if you're still required to be there? Like,
right, right.
so long.
So yeah, I think one of the challenges there is for me subconsciously, if we have the business open hours and there's a team there working it and I'm gone constantly or I'm like not checking in, my concern, especially in this season where it's still kind of young and we still have like had new staff rotating through every year or so that we're trying to train up, is is the team feeling like I'm abandoning them, or like, oh, there's that owner, but she never shows up, or she doesn't participate, or she doesn't understand how I feel. And then it becoming a bigger hamster wheel. Does that make sense? Like I feel an extra weight of pressure, whether it's real or it's subconscious, of like being present, having my hand on it. Um, and some of it is just how it is because it's medical and there's sick patients there. We do a lot of cancer care, a lot of tick-borne care. So it's not like standard, quick in and out things always. There's questions that come with that need medical oversight and yada, yada, yada. There's probably always an excuse I'll have. But anyways, there's that little nuance subconsciously for me. And I'm imagining that a lot of business owners feel that way that have like a physical location with set hours.
Well, I think
It's a pressure.
what you said is what everybody tells themselves. You just have more, I guess, maybe legitimacy to it of like, it is my baby. I do need to be there. Like my team can't
The
do
medical
it.
concern of it, like it feels heavy sometimes.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I think a lot of people say that. I guess before we keep going on this, what do you think, what would you say to that person though, that is going through that as well, as far as when, how to know when operationally you have things set up then?
Like when have I arrived, so to speak?
Yeah, of like when,
Yeah.
and maybe you use your own example,
Yeah.
your
I
own
think there's a
thing as an example.
comfortability
Like
with the
when will
team.
you be like, I can let these guys fly. They got this.
Well, we just got back from vacation, which was amazing.
Yeah.
It was the first time in 6 years since I started the functional medicine division that I have unplugged for
Yeah.
6 days. And I did have to check my emails because of the book and there's some things going on, but I didn't log in to sign scripts, to check on anything,
But
which
no,
is the
like for
first
the
time it's
IV
happened.
side, what would you have to check
Well,
to make yourself feel
it
better?
pertains to all of it, right? I think some of it is just my trust with the
Yeah,
team
yeah.
and developing that relationship, that I know they're confident and good and they're going to make good decisions, and that they will interrupt me if something's like significant. They're not
Just
going to
teaching them
just,
what a true emergency is.
yeah, right? And just, do they understand how to answer the questions? Do the patients feel comfortable, and like, are the patients confident with who's caring for them for the day? And I think that's a huge piece of it. So I think it comes with time in developing your relationship with your staff, and some of it with the patients as well. Like there's patients that I've had for 5 years. We have such good rapport and ease of communication that I know they would tell me if something was really not right, you know? And so sometimes it's just a matter of getting to that place. All right, we are going to take a pause here and we're going to come back to this conversation next week. Thanks so much for joining us. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.